Guys, welcome back. And today we are going to discuss about fat and the health risk of being overweight or obese. So, before going to discuss all those things, we will see what is fat first. So, what is fat? Fat is an important part of healthy, balanced diet. We need some fat in our diet to help us absorb the vitamins, especially the vitamin A, D, E, and K. Fats are also a source of essential fatty acid, which the body cannot make itself. However, too much fat in our diet can be bad for our health because they're high in calories, and so eating a lot of fatty food can make it easy to consume more calories than we need. Over time, this can lead to weight gain and other health issues. Before going to discuss the health issues, we will see the structure of fat and oil, or what is the difference between fat and oil. Fat and oil are made up of molecules called triglyceride. These are formed when three fatty acids join with glycerol, a type of alcohol with three oxyl groups. If all three fatty acids are same, it is called simple triglyceride. If the fatty acids are different, it's called mixed triglyceride. Now we will see the difference between fat and oil. If a solid at room temperature, that means 25 degrees Celsius, we call it a fat. If it's solid at room temperature, we call it a fat. And if it's liquid, we call it an oil. I'll give you more detailed and simple explanation. Okay. So a fat molecule has two main parts. They are a glycerol backbone and a three fatty acid tail. So in this image, you can see, okay, a glycerol backbone, glycerol, that means a small molecule with three hydroxyl group, okay, three hydroxyl, three OH group, 1, 2, 3, and three fatty acid tails, a long chain of carbo and hydrogen with carboxyl group at the end. Carboxyl is COOH. So, three fatty acid, a long chain of carbon dioxide with three COOH group. So, a fat molecule has two main parts, a glycerol, okay, a glycerol and three fatty acid tails. A glycerol means a small molecule with three hydroxyl group, that means three OH group, and three fatty acid tail means a long chain of carbon dioxide and hydrogen with three COOH carboxyl group at the end. And how do they join? They OH group, that means the hydroxyl groups on glycerol react with the carboxyl group, that means the COOH group of the fatty acid. This reaction removes water from this thing. That means dehydration synthesis will take place and form the ester bond. This is called ester bond. This result a triglyceride. A fat molecule with three fatty acid tails attached to one glycerol. So what is fat? A fat molecule with three fatty acid tails attached to one glycerol. Again, I'll repeat. A fat molecule has two main parts. What are they? A glycerol, okay? That means a small molecule with three OH, that is hydroxyl group, and three fatty acid, that means a long chain of carbon and hydrogen with COOH group, that means carboxyl group. So how the fat is forming means this glycerol and this fatty acid will combine together. So while combining, or the hydroxyl group react with carboxyl group. And while reacting, what will happen? This reaction removes water, and this is called dehydration synthesis, and it leads to the formation of a bond called ester bond. Okay? And this results the formation of triglyceride. So a fat molecule means what? A fat molecule means three fatty acid tails attached to one glycerol. Three fatty acid attached to one glycerol. That is fat. And fatty acid tails can be all the same or all the different. Short or long or saturated. Short or long or saturated. So in next slide, we will see saturated, unsaturated, trans fat, etc. So before that, we will see the source of fat or where they come from. So fat comes from animal sources like meat, butter, usually gives fat, or plant sources like olive oil, sunflower oil, that gives oils. All right. What affects their properties? The melting point, that means the solid or liquid form, depend upon how many carbon atom the fatty acid have and how saturated or unsaturated the fatty acids are. So I'll give you some example for fatty acid. Fatty acids are most common saturated fatty acid. Okay, palmitic acid is an example for fatty acid. Oleic acid is an example for fatty acid. Even the same kind of fat can be different depending upon animal diets and the climate. Example, lard farm corn-fed pigs is more saturated than lard farm peanut-fed pigs. So there are a lot of difference. Even so, while we looking, we feel everything is same, but even the same kind of fat can be different depending upon the animal's diet and the climate. So the animal sources of fat give fat. The plant sources of fat give oils. Now, how does fat affect our health? Basically, fat affect our health in different way. The major things or visible side effects of fat are, or complications of fats are, raises the cholesterol level, which can increase the risk of heart diseases and stroke. Also, fat increases the risk of obesity, and it is a risk factor for heart disease and other health-related issues. Again, we'll go to the detailed explanation of types of fat. Fat in the foods can either be saturated or unsaturated. Most foods have a mix of different kind of fat, but some have higher level of saturated fat and other have higher level of unsaturated fat. Saturated fats are usually solid at room temperature. Saturated fats are usually solid at room temperature. The most common source of saturated fats are meats and dairy products. Unsaturated fats are the fats usually liquid at room temperature, and it is present in vegetable oils, nuts, and fish. Again, this unsaturated fat is classified into two types of fat. They are monosaturated fat and polysaturated fat. So basically two types, saturated and unsaturated. Saturated fats are usually solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature. The main source of saturated fats are meats and dairy product, and the main source of unsaturated fats are vegetable oils, nuts, and fish. The unsaturated fat has two types again. They are monosaturated fat and polysaturated fat. Now I'll give you more example and explanation on saturated and unsaturated fatty acid. Saturated fatty acid. So in this image, you can say how saturated fatty acid look like and how unsaturated fat look like. Saturated fatty acid have only single bond between carbon atom. Single bond between carbon atom. That is only single bond we can see. Saturated means they hold as many hydrogen atom as possible. They hold many hydrogen atom as possible. These fats are usually solid at room temperature like butter. Now we will see unsaturated fatty acid. Have a look into the image also, guys. Have one or more double bond. Okay, have one or more double bond in the carbon chain. Fewer hydrogens are attached because the double bonds. The unsaturated fatty acids again classified into two types. They are monosaturated fatty acid and polysaturated fatty acid. Monosaturated fatty acid has one double bond and polysaturated fatty acid has two or more double bonds. Now we will see saturated fats in food and some guidelines and facts. Saturated fatty acids in food. The dietary guidelines for Americans suggest that less than 10% of calories a day should form from saturated fatty acids. The American Heart Association suggests a goal of 5 to 6% of daily calories from saturated fatty acids. Monosaturated fats from plant may lower bad cholesterol and raise good cholesterol. They also may improve the control of blood sugar levels. So we have to focus on more monosaturated fatty acids. Replacing saturated fats with monosaturated fats in the diet may lower the level of bad cholesterol and triglycerides in the blood. So what is triglyceride? Triglycerides are the fat cells that circulate in the bloodstream and are stored in the body fat cell. A high level of triglycerides in the blood increases the risk of disease of heart and blood vessels. Eating plant foods high in monosaturated fats like extra virgin olive oil and tree nuts may benefit heart health and blood sugar regulation. Now we will see polysaturated fatty acids in food. There are two categories of polysaturated fatty acid. They are omega-6 fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids. And hope you know the importance of omega-3 in life for the development of brain and overall activity, especially for children. Omega-6 sources of omega-6 fatty acids include corn oil, cottonseed oil, peanut oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil. So these are all the main sources of omega-6 fatty acid. And benefits of diet in high omega-6 fatty acid, especially they replace saturated fats, may be linked to lower bad cholesterol, lower triglyceride, high good cholesterol, better blood sugar control. So add more these type of oil. Then omega-3. Source of omega-3 fatty acids include oily fish, seeds, and nuts, especially fish. Salmon is a good example. Fish such as salmon, anchovies, mackerel, herring, sardines, and tuna are best source of omega-3 fatty acids. Oil from canola seeds, okay, or canola seeds oil, soybean oil, walnut, and flax seeds are good source of omega-3 fatty acids. Apart from that, soybean, chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts are also good source of omega-3 fatty acid. Diets high in omega-3 fatty acids may have health benefits, including lowering the level of triglyceride. Triglyceride is not good for our body in the blood, and lowering the risk of heart and blood vessels diseases. So add more omega-3 rich food in our diet. Again, some more example for saturated fats. Fatty acid or fatty cuts of meat and processed meat products like bacon, sausage, and salami are the good source of saturated fatty acid. So, but saturated fatty acids are not much good for health. Cheese, especially hard cheese like cheddar, cream, okay, butter, ghee, coconut oil and palm oil, coconut milk, ice cream, cake, biscuits, savory cheese, chocolates and chocolate spreads, okay, sausages, croissants, all these are source of saturated fats. So we have to minimize the intake of these type of food or saturated fats in our diet. Then unsaturated fatty acids, that they are monosaturated and polysaturated fats. Monosaturated fats are found in olive, rapeseed oils, spread made from the olives and rapeseed oils, olives, avocados, nuts, seeds such as Brussels, almonds, hazelnuts, peanuts, pine nuts, etc. Then polysaturated fats, obviously, from vegetable oils, spread made from vegetable oils like corn, sunflower, and sesame, flax seeds, walnut, pine nuts, and oily fish, especially salmon. So include unsaturated fats like monosaturated and polysaturated fat in our diet as much as possible. Then one more type of fat is there in our body that is called trans fat. So we have saturated, unsaturated, and one more type that is trans fat. Trans fats are kind of fat that increases bad cholesterol and lower good cholesterol. Small amounts of are naturally found in meat and dairy from animals like cow, sheep, and goat. Most trans fats come from plant oil that are changed using chemicals to become solid. These are called partially hydrogenated oils. In the past, people thought trans fat were the healthy option instead of saturated fats. They were also cheap and lasted a long time on shelves. The US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has said that man-made trans fat are not safe in food anymore. So in past, people thought that trans fats were a healthy option instead of saturated fats because they were very cheap and lasted a long time on shelves. But FDA has said that man-made trans fats are not safe in food anymore. So don't use trans fat. How much fat should we eat? This is UK government's policies. The UK government recommends that total fat intake should not make up more than 35% of our total daily calories. On average in the UK, we were achieving this or not. Our saturated fat intake should not bigger than 11 percentage of our total energy intake from food. This is about 30 gram per day for men and 20 gram per day for women. So in this chart, you can see dietary recommendation of fat, total fat, no more than 35 percentage of total energy. That means 34.4 percentage in men and 35 percentage in women. Saturates, that means all the cheesy products, no more than 11 percentage total energy. That means 12.3 percentage in men and 12.7 percentage in women. So when it comes to India, the studies and the research shows that in India, the recommended daily fat intake is generally considered to be 25 to 35 percentage or 20 to 35 percentage of total calories or 44 to 78 grams for a 2000 calorie intake. So 44 to 78 grams for a 2000 calorie intake. However, some sources suggest a more specific range of 20 to 40 gram of visible fat per day for adults, depending on physical activity, that also matters. So total fat, the total daily fat intake should be make up 20 to 35 percentage of total calorie. Saturated fat, it's recommended to limit saturated fat to less than 10 percentage of our daily calorie intake. And when it comes to the visible fat, recommendations suggest that minimal visible fat intake should be between 20 to 40 grams. So around 20 to 40 gram per day. And again, they have mentioned depending upon the activity level. Examples for 2000 calorie diet, 44 to 78 gram of fat. Then, according to World Health Organization guideline, WHO guidelines on fat intake suggest that adults should limit total fat to 30% or less of their daily energy. From age 2 and up, most fat should come from unsaturated fats. Limit saturated fat to 10% or less, trans fat to 1% or less of daily energy. And here you can see a screen, and in the screen, how we can swap, okay, from bad fat to good fat. Then how we can tell if a food is high in a fat or saturated fat. So always check the label. So in this label, you can clearly see. So whether fat is more or high. So this green thing means it is low, 4%. Okay. Saturates, low. Okay. If the green color is there, it indicates the low fat. Okay. And if there is red color, that is high. Okay. And if there is orange or yellow color, that means medium level of amount. So always check on this food labels or food packet. So in the packet, clearly they will mention, and this is the recommendation by the government. So basically, people will never check, or basically people are not aware about these things. But after reading this, definitely you have to check. Those who are listening this, definitely you have to check the amount of fat you are taking from each packet. So if there is a green, that is a green sign. So you can take it. There's a red sign, don't take that one. That means high level of fat is there. So for example, reference intake, total fat 95 gram, okay, female 70 gram, saturated 30 gram, 20 gram, something like that. So the label may also show the percentage that a portion of food or drink contributes to your daily reference intake, RI. Reference intake means RI. The RI is the maximum amount that adults should have each day and is not intended as a target that needs to be met. So this is about fat, okay, and the structure, types, what is monosaturated, polysaturated, and benefits and risk of fat intake, and how we have to control and what type of fat we have to consume. But we have to consume fat because it is essential for the daily activities, especially the breakdown of different kinds of vitamins or formation of vitamins, and for the overall functioning of the body. But we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. We have to be very conscious, and we need to know what type of fat should be good for our body, especially for our children. And if there is no control on fat intake, it can lead to high cholesterol, obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, and even that can lead to death. Hope you understand, guys. Thank you. Next time with other topic.